Namaste, hello, and welcome to my podcast, Something Old, Something New. I am your host, Rohini Abhyankar. Today's topic is Swanta Sukhashram. Loosely translated, it would mean a stage of life where one goes in the quest of inner joy or happiness. A little bit about the translation of sukha to joy or happiness. I want to clarify that the word sukha can really not be translated using the words joy or happiness. Why do I say that? Because sukha, the Sanskrit word, is comprised of two elements, su and kha. Su means good and kha means space. So it literally means to be in a good space. It could be intellectual space, physical space, emotional space, whatever you want to name it. Similar, the words like sakha and sakhi also come from that. Sa means with and ka means space. So anybody who shares a space with you, again, emotional, physical, intellectual, so that's a sakha or a sakhi. So Swanta Sukhai Ashram, Ashram of Swanta Sukh is a stage of life where we go in this quest of finding that space within us that is a good space. That's the meaning of Swanta Sukhaya. So in Sanatan Dharma, again, pausing a little on the word Sanatan, it means something that renews itself continuously, like a river. So a river flows and it's the same river, but the water is constantly new. So a dharma, a way of life, which renews itself is a Sanatan Dharma, and that's the traditional name for Hindu Dharma. So I'm going to refer to Hindu Dharma like Sanatan, with the name Sanatan Dharma. So in Sanatan Dharma, there are four stages of life. Brahmacharya ashram, Grihasthashram, Vanaprasthashram, and Sannyasashram. Brahmacharya ashram is people focusing on developing themselves, enriching, equipping themselves to earn a livelihood. Grihasthashram is people go after their desires and they want to build their own world. So, marriage, children, careers, making money all falls in that stage of life. Next is Vanaprasthashram, the stage that I'm going to talk to you about today. And the last one is Sannyasashram, which is renouncing the world, which eventually automatically happens at the end of life, where you are losing your ability to do things the way you do them today. Our senses are diminishing and we are focusing inward. But my focus is Vanaprasthashram, which literally means proceeding towards the forest. So it's a stage of life which is marked at around age of 60, when people's family responsibilities are over, are career wise they are about to retire. uh, it falls around their 60th birthday. So that's Vanaprasthashram. But these days we don't have any Vana, which is forest, or any Prasthan, which is departure. So nobody goes to a forest to live, nobody is going to go to a forest to live. So what are we to do? So this thought process, this whole churning began when a few of my friends got together and said, hey, why don't we celebrate our 60th birthday together? And those who are in India gathered there in person. People who are outside, we all joined via Zoom and had a great day filled with music, laughter, dance, chit-chatting activities, some financial, yoga, etc., etc. All in all, a very fun day. And we promised each other to stay in touch and departed. I closed my Zoom window, but my mind kept visiting. The window of my mind was still open, visiting my friends' gathering that I had just witnessed or participated in. And I thought of two things: that we all have a lot of time, and the most important was that from here on out, nothing was pre lined up for us as it was before, like school and college and marriage and children and family and career, so on and so forth. Nothing was there. We are all done with that and on the verge of our 60th year in blink of an eye. There's a risk of feeling unwanted, not desired. There is a risk of figuring out what are we going to do, how are we going to spend our life going on here forward. So adhering to my natural tendencies, my dharma, the way I live, I start gathering information, then I process it and I decipher for myself what I'm going to do. And same way I thought I'll do for my 60th birthday, what am I going to do from here on out? First thing that came to mind is go talk to people who are older than you. But then I realized that people with whom I could have a heart-to-heart conversation with are no longer there. So who do I turn to? I remembered my grandmother that I was close to. She had her 60th birthday, which is in the Sanatan Dharma, or in the traditional wisdom. There is a ritual called Sati Shanta, which is prescribed for people who turn 60. So she got her Sati Shanta done. I was really young that time. Uh, all I remember was a photographer coming from outside. He put a big black cloth over his over his head and a big camera, and snapped a big family picture. I still have that picture. That's all I recollect from her Sati Shanta. I was close to one of my aunts, and her Sati Shanta 60th birthday happened when I was a youth. I was floating 2 inches above the ground and paid no attention to her rituals. So I gathered nothing from what the wisdom was that was shared with her in that ritual. Then in our 30s and 40s, me and my siblings, we proposed this idea to my father that let's have your Sati Shanta, and he outright rejected it. He was a scientist, a self-made man. He did not even want to hear anything about it. So that was that, and that was the end of the idea. So bottom line is there is nobody that I could gather from why they rejected the idea, or why they what they gained when they got their Sati Shanta done. So asking people was ruled out. Next stage was digging into books. So the first book that I picked up, which deals with uh, traditional rituals, is Swayam Purohit. This is a book that teaches you how to do your own rituals, if you are so inclined. I skimmed through that book and realized that there is no mention of Sati Shanta, as it does not fall. Sati Shanta is not part of Soa 16 sanskaras. So that was a disappointment. And what are the 16 sanskaras? That's a topic for another podcast. So I will not touch upon it here. I kept my search on, and I came across a little booklet by Jnana Prabodhini, an institute in Pune, that does uh, uh, research on similar topics and puts out booklets guiding the community. And I read through that book in one sitting. It's a small, it's a short booklet actually. And I gathered three things from it. I'm going to talk not about the ritual part of it that's described in there. It's everybody's preference, what they want to do, but the deeper meaning that I gathered, that was a takeaway from me. I'm going to talk about that here today. I gathered three things. Number one that they recommend is a prayer to Rishi Markandeya for longevity. Number two is reining in your uh, desires and to becoming an introvert and walking the spiritual path. And number three is doing a little uh, fire ritual, a home, and offering yourself to the supreme being. You may call it God, you may call it Brahma, it's your choice. So those are the three things, and they are important to us even today. Now, why do I say that? I say this because number one, why pray to Rishi Markandeya? Why invoke him on the occasion of your 60th birthday? Because Rishi Markandeya was born with a limited life, and his parents, as they were not having children, they did a penance, they were granted a boon, and the boon gave them a choice to have a child who would be uh, of limited intellect and long life, or who would be uh, would have profound intelligence but a limited life, and they opted for the second choice. And so Rishi Markandeya was born with great intelligence and a limited life of 16 years. When Rishi Markandeya learned about this, he started a penance of his own, and doing that penance he earned a boon of a long life, life that was that long that he witnessed 7 deluges on earth. So destruction of earth, then the earth thrived again, the destruction, so on and so forth, 7 times. And even today he gets referred to as a Chiranjeev, someone who lives forever. Now I know that invoking Rishi Markandeya, we are not going to be Chiranjeevs. We are not going to have, going to live for eternity. But my takeaway is the way he did penance and got a long, healthy life, we probably could improve our days, improve our health, improve our life from here on if we are disciplined, as though we are doing penance. So, if we follow discipline in our eating, in our exercise, in our sleep habits, in our general social media stimulus, then maybe we'll be able to make our days to come happy, healthy, and productive. Number two was reining in the desires, and that also makes sense to me because when you are thinking about what's you want to rein in, that means there is a factor of discarding something. So you may be discarding things that you don't want, that don't mean much to you. You may be discarding some of the relationships that are not productive for you, some of the activities that you do or have pursued that mean nothing to you. So that gives you narrows down your field, and you only retain what's important and valuable to you, and that's a very, very critical thing to do moving forward from here. There's another aspect to it, which is of independence. So if we have many desires and we are not able to pursue them because we don't have the energy we used to have when we were 30 or 40 years old, we ask somebody else to do it, things would get done, and we get frustrated, and that's not sukha, that's not a good space to be in. So reining in your desires is very, very valuable, very applicable at this turn of life, at the age of 60. Next is doing a fire ritual and offering yourself to a bigger power, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, how? What does it even mean to offer yourself to a bigger power? I know it's a complex concept, and I don't preach anything. Uh, I don't mean to preach anything. I don't understand it. I'm a student, so I started thinking about it. What does this mean to me? So, when you say offer yourself to something bigger, all I understand is it is asking me to step out of the tight circle of me and mine to something bigger. So maybe stepping out of my I and looking at a bigger picture, maybe my neighborhood, maybe my community, maybe a cause, a bigger cause that means something to me. So that's what becoming, growing out of your little I. So that made a lot of sense to me. Another aspect to this was doing a little fire ritual. I think fire ritual at this particular stage is very critical. Again, why do I say that? So I think since we are all made of five elements, right? Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu, Akash. So that's earth, water, fire. Uh, Tej is energy, basically. Vayu is wind, and Akash is space. So we are familiar with the four of these. We walk on earth, we use water every day, we see what water is doing on earth these days. The oceans are rising, and the rivers, and the flood, and yes, but are we aware of the element of Agni, that is the fire, or the sun? The element of sun on earth is represented by Agni, or the fire. So how many of us are really in contact with Agni or are in vicinity of Agni? We use the stove to cook a meal, but do we really realize that that blue flame is the Agni that's driving our digestive fire, that's making the earth go around, that's making the universe what it is today? Uh, I am not sure, at least I don't. So for me, sitting next to a little fire is very significant. I want to have that energy in me. I want to have that digestion in me. I want to uh, have that energy going ahead, because I do realize that that inner fire is going to diminish as I advance in years. So doing that Agni Sakshi, Agni in front of Agni, in front of fire, a ritual, and stepping out of my me and my equation makes a lot of sense to me. So these are important things to me. I wanted to see how my peers are doing, people who have advanced a little bit ahead of me, because no matter of bookish knowledge is going to be useful if it does not stick. So I presented my findings to a bunch of friends, and they gave me some very, very valuable feedback. They agreed with all these three things, and they added one more. They said that they are all in quest of something that they had always wanted to do but did not have the time or the money or the freedom to do it. For example, they are taking some are taking art lessons, some are learning music, some a lot of them are just traveling, some are actually going and helping out and doing volunteer work, some are just staying connected with their friends and uh, avoiding depression or going into a depressed state of mind for themselves or for their friends. So these are awesome things that they shared. But what I realized from it, all of this was they're all going into a quest of inner happiness or sukha, good inner good space. It's nothing to do with the outside world. It is their own personal inner calm or something that's going to bring them pleasure, or they're going to move towards an inner uh, sukha. And so I thought that Vanaprasthashram could be all these things put together. So for doing anything, for pursuing your own valuable, meaningful goals, we need good health. We need to make sure that we are not running in 50 different directions to rein in our desires. We need to step out of our me and mine equation and think bigger and go in the quest of inner good space. And so maybe a rebranding of Vanaprastha into Swanta Sukhashram may not be a bad idea. So think about what you make of this. If you agree, share it with your friends. I hope this helps you chalk out your path going ahead. For those who are approaching 50, in their early 50s, can start thinking about it from now and incorporate these things as soon as they are free from their responsibilities going ahead. So thank you for taking the time to listening to my thoughts here. Till next time, this is Rohini.